Good afternoon, baseball fans and American history fans. This is Phil Dixon with another edition of This Day in African American Baseball History. Of course, today is the November 24th, 2025 edition of our ongoing conversation about Negro League baseball and Negro League baseball athletes, not only in the Negro League, but before the Negro League and after. So that would include guys from the American National League as well. So just doing a lot of things here, talking about sports and just trying to keep you engaged with something that's educational and something that's powerful. And so, if you've never joined me before, what I do is I give you a fact that occurred somewhere through history on the date of November 24th. And then I also follow that up with some commentaries, maybe some things I know about it that you won't find online, that maybe not printed in the book. Maybe I've interviewed that person. Maybe I've been to that town, have experience there as well. So anyway, we're going to jump right into it. And of course, some people will join in. And if you like what I'm doing here, guys, if you're listening now, and if you really like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe. That keeps me growing, and we're growing pretty fast. Been out here for about 4 months now, and so looking forward to maybe getting to 400 subscribers by the end of November. Now, of course, today's the 24th, so got a lot of work to do. So I'll be doing some things over the Thanksgiving break, kind of letting you know what I'm doing. I may even come on and broadcast a couple of times a day and reaching new audiences. All right. So okay, so let's jump right here and let's keep busy. And for those of you who may pick up the broadcast later on, just want to say thank you and the opportunity to subscribe also goes out to you. All right, so let's go here. We're going to start with November the 24th, 1909. And in Winter League action, the Los Angeles Angels defeated the Occidentals by a score of 6-1 in Los Angeles. And John Riley of the 1909 and 1910 National League St. Louis Cardinals pitched for the Angels. Of course, he got the win. And the game was played for a side bet of $100, with the winner taking the entire gate receipt. So, guys, if you came to that game and you're a ball player, it's all or nothing in that game. And so, the Occidentals were and the black team, and of course the Los Angeles Angels were the white team. So in this particular case, the Occidentals lost. Now, who were the Occidentals? Now, the Occidentals were coming to Los Angeles from Utah, Salt Lake City, and they were the state champions of Utah. They beat all the teams that were going for the state title in the state of Utah in 1909. So that's an interesting history, because who would think that the state champions, meaning the best baseball team in all of Utah in 1909, would be an African American team. And so now you know who they were. They're the Occidentals. So be sure and go and do a little research on them. I do have a picture of Jack Johnson, the famous prize boxer, who was standing with the Occidental team, and it was in my book, The Negro Baseball Leagues of Photographic History. And I thank Jay Sanford for leading me to that photograph. Man, it's 40 years ago. So that photograph has been posted since that time, but not a lot of new information has been released on the Occidentals. And so I just want to share that here. The Occidentals from Utah, the great state of Utah, the city of Salt Lake. Yeah. And by the way, I presented in Salt Lake a number of years ago. And when I was there, they made a documentary about Salt Lake baseball. And I'm in that documentary, quite younger guy version of me, because it had to be at least 30 years ago. And while I was there, I'm trying to think of the baseball movie. It's a baseball movie, the one with James Earl Jones. Come on, guys. Somebody knows that baseball movie with James Earl Jones and the kids, and they knock the ball into the guy's yard, and the big dog comes out, and they have a saying in that movie, "You're killing me, Smalls." Come on, what's the name of that movie, somebody? Somebody's listening here who knows that movie. Sandlot, that's the movie. And Sandlot, a lot of people don't know that, was filmed right there in Salt Lake City, Utah. All right. Okay, so we're going to go into the next fact. November the 24th, 1916, the Chicago Defender, uh, that was a weekly publication, African American Press. So it was a weekly publication. Reported that quarterback Sol Butler made 100-yard run while playing for the Dubuque German College and Seminary team in a victory over the Buena Vista College team in Storm Lake, Iowa. The final score was 39 to nothing, and that ended the football season for both teams who were members of the Iowa Hawkeye Conference. And the game, now what's interesting is the Chicago Defender usually reported things late. So they reported this game on November 24th, but it was actually played November 18th. So, yeah. And by the way, Sol Butler scored 3 touchdowns in that game. So he scored 3 touchdowns, and the team won 39 to nothing. So that lets you know he's a pretty dominant guy. This Sol Butler is another sleeper. Now, over the years, I've had some debates with guys, and they said that he played for the Kansas City Monarchs 1 or 2 games. I never found that. So I would question if you found that he was playing for the Monarchs in a box score, hey, send it to me in an email. Make me aware of it. But I've never found it. Now, I do know that he played professional basketball with the Gilkerson Union Giants, and that was Robert P. Gilkerson, who also had the Gilkerson Union Giants baseball team. And of course, Sol Butler was in the Olympics in 1918. So Sol Butler was just a great athlete. And unfortunately, he ran a bar in Chicago, and I think he got in some kind of dispute, and a guy shot him in Chicago in his bar. And so his body was sent back to where his sister lived, and that's where they buried him. And they buried him in Wichita, Kansas. So on occasion, I've gone down to Wichita, and I will stop at the cemetery because I know where he's buried, and put some flowers there for Sol Butler. Interesting thing, when I go out to speak, people come to hear me speak, and they're always trying to drop new knowledge on me. And somebody came to hear me speak one time. I was down in Wichita. They said, "Hey, did you know that Sol Butler's buried here?" I said, "Yeah, I sure know. I just left the cemetery leaving him flowers." So, yeah, Sol Butler, but he was just an all-around athlete. Ended up playing quarterback. Now, he played quarterback for the college there, and this was the college in Dubuque. But he also played professional football as a quarterback for a very brief period in the 1920s. I think it was with Rock Island. And these were some of your very first NFL teams, not anything like the NFL we know today with the big money and everything. These guys were trying to get their football started. And so they did have black quarterbacks. And most people don't know that because they're only in tune with the modern day black quarterbacks. And so, yeah, so you had those guys. And so that's what I want to say about Sol Butler. And by the way, I did speak in Dubuque before, too. So I've been to some of these places. Of course, I spoke in Los Angeles several times, but definitely went to Dubuque as well. And Dubuque is a very interesting little town, not too far from Madison, Wisconsin. As a matter of fact, the day I spoke in Dubuque, I spoke, I think, on a Saturday, maybe 10 o'clock. And then that afternoon at 2 o'clock, I traveled over to Madison, probably an hour away, and I spoke at Madison, did a double header. I do that quite a bit sometime during the summer where I would present in 2 cities on the same day. And so Dubuque was one of those towns. And Charles Comiskey has some good connections to Dubuque going way back around the turn of the century. So, guys, Dubuque is another interesting place, too. A lot of history there. Okay, so let's go to November 24th, 1927. Okay, and Wilberforce and West Virginia Institute, those are 2 HBCUs, and HBCU is a historically black college or university, that's what that stands for, played to a 12-12 tie on Thanksgiving Day in Columbus, Ohio at Neal Field. Now, Neal Field was also the home of the Columbus Redbirds, who were the St. Louis Cardinals minor league team. So that's where they were at Neal Field. Is 7,000 fans looked on. So these HBCU games in that time drew big crowds. And so Harry Wolfang Ward had one long run for 15 yards, and Wilberforce had several chances to win, but Hallie Harden missed two after touchdown extra points is his team's kicker. Now, what's interesting, both of those guys played professional baseball. Wolfang Ward was a professional baseball player, and so was a Hallie Harden. I think Hallie Harden had a longer career, but this Wolfang Ward was just simply one of the greatest multi-sport athletes of all time. And Hallie Harden wasn't bad either. Now, Hallie Harden, I think I had him yesterday or a few days ago. He was playing for Wiley University. He played quarterback and he also kicked. And so once again, I always like to say they called him a football tramp because he would move from college to college. Sometimes he wasn't even enrolled in the college, but he would somehow work his way onto the football team. And so that's Hallie Harden. And you know how ball players are moving around now, they play for one college and then now they can move around. Way back, black athletes were able to do that then in their conferences. Quite a bit different from what was going on in, say, some of the white schools. But yeah, so Hallie Harden is one good example of someone who moved around. So yeah, he's playing on Thanksgiving Day, in Columbus, Ohio. I'm trying to think if I ever presented in Columbus. I think I was scheduled for Columbus. I don't think I ever presented there. I pass it all the time, going up through that part of the country, speaking in different places. I think the last time I went through there, I spoke at Zanesville, Ohio, which is not too far from there, and Wheeling, West Virginia is another place that I was at. So, yeah, so I know that area very well, and there's a game that I wrote about in my book, The Dizzy and Daffy Dean Baseball Tour, Race Media, and America's National Pastime, that occurred in Columbus, Ohio. And if I'm correct, Satchel Paige was pitching against Dizzy Dean, and Dizzy Dean had his All-Stars, and Satchel Paige was with the Pittsburgh Crawfords, and that was in 1934. So you can find that there. Let me say hello to some people. I see somebody says, Muhammad says hello, and then there's, looks like Dylan Briggs, 8737, saying hello there, and then somebody named Desk Drop 118 says yo. I guess that's another way of saying hello. So yo back to you as well. All right, so let's keep it rolling here. Let's go to November 24th, 1929. The touring McCoy Nolan Giants of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with a record of 9 losses in 192 games that year, lost a 15-2 game to the Pasadena Merchants at Pasadena's Tournament Park. And in addition to the runs, the Merchants got 15 hits while the Giants were held to 4. Now, I knew several guys that played for the McCoy Nolan Giants. Actually, one of them ended up playing for the Kansas City Monarchs. And when I went to Milwaukee many years ago, I would go there quite often. I was always invited by a lady by the name of Aranetta Anderson, and she was a big pusher of African American history there in Milwaukee. She would invite me in, and I would get a chance to talk. Actually, since she passed away, I haven't been back in Milwaukee since. That's kind of unfortunate. But I did go to Milwaukee quite a bit, and so I happen to know a lot about Milwaukee baseball, and of course that includes the Milwaukee Bears of the Negro National League, and also the McCoy Nolan Giants. Now, what's interesting in this, I'm going to have to dig a little deeper. They said they had 100, and they played, let me see, 9 losses in 192 games in a calendar year. So they're playing, I guess if they started in the spring and were still playing in the fall. I would probably need to check that. That sounds like an inflated total. I've never seen a total like that from even some teams that I know were more dominant. So I'm going to have to check that. I don't know who they were playing and where they were playing, But if they did achieve that record, we need to be talking more about the McCoy Nolan Giants. But on this particular day, November the 24th, 1929, they didn't have a great day out in Pasadena. All right. All right. And so let's go a couple of more. How about November 24th, 1935? You probably heard of this guy before. Talked about him a great deal here in the last month because he played Winter League Baseball quite a bit. And that is Satchel Paige. So he received another win as the Royal Giants defeated the White Kings, and that's a soap company out in Los Angeles, by the score of 6-3 at Los Angeles Wrigley Field. Now, they had a field that was in Los Angeles. If I'm correct, it was the same dimensions as Wrigley Field in Chicago, and they had the same owner at one time. I don't know when that changed, but Wrigley was the owner of this field as well. Interesting thing, when I was growing up, there used to be a TV show called Home Run Derby, and the Home Run Derbies were filmed, believe it or not, at Wrigley Field in Los Angeles. So if you want to see what that park looked like, go online and go into YouTube and Google Home Run Derby, and you'll see Wrigley Field there. You can kind of get an idea because guys are hitting them out of the park there. They're doing a home run derby. So you can see what it looks like in all the outfields. If a right-hander hitter is hitting versus the left-hander, you'll see all the way around. But yeah, Wrigley Field. And that was another place that the African-American teams played out on the West Coast originally, and most of the games were going to be played at White Sox Park. And that was a park specifically set up by Joe Peroni and other people out in Los Angeles as the home field for African American teams and African American baseball. So Satchel Paige pitched there, as well as this Wrigley Field there in Los Angeles. So let's see. Okay, so he's pitching there. They defeated the White Kings 6-3 at Wrigley Field, and the game went into the last inning. And the Giants were trailing 3-2, but they got the bases loaded. And then a guy came up, you probably heard of him before, named Norman Turkey Stearns out of Alabama, playing on the coast there, great ball player. He hit a grand slam, and they got the walk-off victory. Turkey Stearns, bases loaded, grand slam, brought home the bacon. And so, yeah, not turkey bacon, but they brought home the bacon, all right? So that's Norman Turkey Stearns, and a great guy. He passed away in Detroit, and the Detroit Tigers recognize him with their Negro League weekend that they have there. And then also, I think that maybe this year they're going to expand it just a little bit and maybe start recognizing Pete Hill in that same weekend. He was one of the all-time greats that really helped to put the Detroit Stars on the map. And so, and of course, Turkey Stearns ended up coming up to the Detroit team when he left the South. So, yeah, Norman Turkey Stearns. Hey, you guys know these names? Is this educational for you? These are great ball players. These are some of the names I should have heard as a youngster coming up. So when I heard about home run hitters from the 1920s and great ball players, I knew names like Mel Ott. I knew he had him Jimmy Fox, and of course everyone knew about Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, but these guys were omitted from the books. And I spent my lifetime, over 40 some odd years, as a historian trying to get them recognition. And so they're getting some recognition now, but there's so much more to learn and so many more stories we need to tell about these guys. And hopefully by listening to this broadcast here, you can learning something. I've got one more that I want to do today, one more feat that I want to talk about. And this one is November the 24th, 1937. You're going to recognize this name too. Been popping up quite a bit. Now this guy's another multi-sport athlete. So he's a baseball player. Most people know him as number 42 from baseball. I'm giving you some hints. 42 from baseball. His numbers retired all over Major League Baseball. But at this particular time, 1937, he hasn't even played professional baseball yet. But he's playing football. And he's in college. So, led by Jackie Robinson, Pasadena's junior college shut out California's Institute of Technology 12-0 in playing before a crowd of 18,000 at the Rose Bowl. How about that? Robinson returned a punt for 75 yards for 1 touchdown, and his team's quarterback he tossed a pass to one of the ends for another touchdown. Basically, this man was the whole show. Jackie Robinson. And there's a great movie came out a couple years ago. And when I say great movie, it's an entertaining movie, right? About Jackie Robinson and his life. I think it was called 42. And of course, if you want to go back and see something older, 1950, there's a movie called The Jackie Robinson Story, where Jackie Robinson played himself. And you know, Jackie Robinson's role model was his brother, Mac. Now, Mac was an Olympic sprinter before 1937. So these are families with legacies, guys, that weren't talked about. And we didn't learn about these, but because of the magic of technology and people willing to roll up their sleeves and tell these stories, and people being able to write books, articles, the whole thing, we're starting to learn more, and this information is getting out to more and more people. However, not enough people. So if you like what I'm doing here, guys, subscribe and share one of these broadcasts, and we'll see what happens. Now, I'm doing a lot of lives now as I get it going, but somewhere along the line, I'm going to do more and more videos, and those will be edited down. So right now, I'm just having a conversation with you. And so I want to thank everybody for joining today. This is not going to be a long thing. I usually try to get out of here in about 20 minutes. And so I'm about 21 minutes now. So, man, it's the fastest 20 minutes. It's just amazing how fast time goes. But anyway, I want to thank you for joining. So we have anybody else who want to say hello? I see Desk Drop 18. I guess you're still here, right? And then somebody says, that duck on Unc. I'm not sure. So what's your favorite sandwich? Well, I tell you what, guys, this is not the food channel. So we talk baseball here, and I don't have a favorite sandwich, but I tell you, I got a lot of favorite players that I'd love to tell you about. And I think if you listen, after a while, you might pick a favorite player and say, hey, that's my favorite player right there. And we can sandwich some of these careers between the 1920s and the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, or right up to the turn of the century, 1900 or 2000, whatever you want to talk about. We can sandwich that. How about that? So that would be my favorite sandwich, is telling you the history of these guys all squeezed into one loaf of delivery. So, all right, guys, that's about it. So everybody, thanks for joining. I appreciate that. And when people put sometimes some strange comments here, I just play off of it and have a good time, guys. So I appreciate you all. And thanks for being supportive. And once again, guys, if you like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe. We're going for 400 subscribers by the end of November. It's going to be a challenge because I'm about 50 away. But who knows? Who knows how fast we'll get there? And we were going for 300 last month. We made that a few days after the first of the month. And so hopefully we can get to the 400 this time before it turns into December. Then we'll come up with another number as we go into December. Thank you, guys. It's been my pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to talking to you again. All right, this is Phil Dixon with today's edition of This Day in African American Baseball History, the November 24th, 2025 edition.